Here's a developing story this morning. Chief activist of the One South Africa movement, OSA, Mmusi Maimane, is this morning launching the organization's economic recovery plan entitled Review, Repurpose, Rebuild and Reform. The plan is a comprehensive set of specific interventions aimed at building a stronger, revitalized South Africa in the midst of the challenges of COVID-19. For more on the launch, we cross live now to our colleague Samkele Maseko, who is in Auckland Park. Samkele, what's happening where you are?
At this point in time, we're still waiting for the arrival of the chief activist of One South Africa, that would be Mmusi Maimane, and he'll be unveiling and unpacking this movement's economic recovery plan for South Africa in this COVID-19 pandemic that has wreaked havoc to the South African economy. You remember that he's been very vocal when it comes to saying that the South African economy needs to be inclusive of all South Africans and not leave a particular segment of society segregated from economic activity and being brought on stream like all other races in the country, particularly the white community, in saying that Africans in their majority are seemingly segregated and excluded from economic activity, as they are saying that the South African economy needs to be repositioned. But also this economic recovery program or plan by this particular movement comes at a time when Mmusi Maimane has been grappling with his own political future, whether he's forming a political party or is forming a non-governmental organization that will not be entering the electoral politics of this country. You've got Herman Mashaba, his erstwhile comrade and Democrat within the Democratic Alliance, that has formed his own movement, Action SA, and they are seemingly steaming ahead in trying to register with the IEC for the local government elections next year, despite the IEC having some grievances and barring their registration due to their logo, which seemingly resembles the South African flag. But it seemingly does look like Mmusi Maimane has a myriad of questions to answer, particularly around his own political future, whether he's entering or re-entering electoral politics in the country, or will just be a non-governmental organization championing the rights of South Africans as opposed to his erstwhile comrades whom have seemingly registered a political organization.
As we await his arrival, Samkele, it's also interesting to see that his emphasis is on the economy and not necessarily on specifically social issues. What should we read out of this?
Essentially, it boils down to what he was doing essentially whilst in his past political life. You'd remember that they were very vocal on the economic trajectory of the country. He's seemingly pursuing that issue of the economy. You'd know that the most and foremost important issue right now during this COVID-19 pandemic that the country is facing, and with the new economic aspects of the country coming on stream, with the level 1 of the lockdown now being in place, and with the borders of the country being opened up for business travel for certain countries, and certain countries being able to travel for leisure as well, depending on how the pandemic is wreaking havoc within those particular countries. It does look as if the government is putting a huge emphasis on the economy, and this One South Africa movement is seemingly moving in that direction as well, in focusing on the economy, rebuilding the economy, to make sure that South Africans who've lost their jobs, who've had their businesses closing down due to the lockdown that has been there since about March this year, that they are able to rebuild their businesses, to regain jobs in order to basically take after and look after their families. So this is the first and foremost issue that many South Africans are speaking about now post the lockdown in the country, even though it's at level 1, but it's very much eased down as opposed to what we had at level 5. But it does seem as if Mmusi Maimane, the chief activist of One South Africa, is seemingly looking in towards the direction of government in rebuilding the economy. Remember, various political formations have also spoken about the rebuilding of the South African economy. That includes your Inkatha Freedom Party, that includes your Democratic Alliance led by its acting leader John Steenhuisen, the African National Congress, which is the governing party of the day, and other political formations like Congress of the People and your Patriotic Alliance, and other political formations that have been to the fore and spoken about the South African economy, some of them raising concerns about the easing of the lockdown and that it may put some South Africans at harm's way in contracting the pandemic. For instance, if you look at at the numbers that came about yesterday, in just 24 hours, about 1,000 people were infected by this particular pandemic of COVID-19, which is also one of the negatives of the easing of the lockdown to level 1 and easing up of the economy and opening up and bringing other economic aspects of the economy on stream, which is effectively something that the political formations and the government of the day will have to grapple with. But if they go back and basically take the country back to lockdown level 5, in the words of the Premier of Gauteng, David Makura, that would be devastating for the South African economy, including the likes of the Democratic Alliance, which have been very vocal in saying that a prolonged lockdown will have a devastating effect on the South African economy and impact job creation that the government seeks to create for poor South Africans who have seemingly left with no jobs after this particular pandemic, with unemployment at an all-time high now in the country.
I find what you're saying interesting, Samkele, about the party or the formation going the government route. We know that after the ANC Lekgotla and subsequently the cabinet Lekgotla, one of the things that the country is awaiting is the President Cyril Ramaphosa's announcement of an economic recovery plan. Is it coincidental that Mmusi is also having a similar focus?
It's not coincidental. Within the political space, you must know that it's a contested terrain. It's a battle of ideas, as politicians would say it. So essentially what we have ongoing right now is that all political formations are putting their plans forth for the country's economic recovery. You've got the government of the day through its governing party, which had an 8-staggered strategy towards economic recovery of the country, putting an emphasis on infrastructural development. You'd remember about 2 months or 3 months ago, the President addressing the nation did say that the economic driver for the recovery of the country will be infrastructure development. You look at the project that he just unveiled this past weekend on Sunday in Mooikloof, Pretoria, where he unveiled that multi-billion rand infrastructure build program that government is partnering with the private sector in order to create jobs within that particular sector. That particular initiative is driven by the head of infrastructure in the presidency, Dr. Kgosientsho Ramokgopa. You look at how the Minister of Tourism in the country, Mamoloko Kupayi-Ngubane, is driving the issue of tourism domestically and internationally towards the country in order to revive the ailing South African economy. You look at the emphasis that is being placed in the agricultural and the manufacturing sector within government. So it's no surprise that political formations, people like Mmusi Maimane, who are once again, if I may put it diplomatically, aspirant politicians, trying to put forth their proposals to the electorate in South Africa, so that once the country gets into full electioneering mode for the 2021 local government elections, their plans are placed to the fore of all South Africans, of all citizenry, and all who are eligible to be voters in those all-important 2021 local government elections. So it's a game of thrones, and it's a game of trying to persuade and win over the electorate through your ideas and plans for the country, and not just lip service.
And I suppose we'll find out soon enough if he's aspirant or officially a politician. Thank you so much for that update, Samkele. That's a story we will follow for the day as well.